As we are now really getting into the start of a new working year, we've had a major change to legislation that affects companies here in the UAE, amendments to the Commercial Companies Law that came into force at the end of 2025. On the line to talk us through the changes and what they mean for UAE businesses. Very pleased to be joined by the UAE Minister of Economy and Tourism, His Excellency Abdulla bin Touq Al Marri. Good morning, it's lovely to speak to you.
Good morning and welcome. Thanks for having me and across as well, all who is hearing me across the UAE as well.
Let's start with the big picture here. Why is now the right time to be amending the Commercial Companies Law?
Well, the commercial company law started back in 1984. It is the kind of the mothership of all laws when it comes to establishing companies, operating in the UAE. It has all the types of companies from LLC, from PGCSCs, from whatever type that has been decided. It's about 6 types of companies when you start up in the UAE. So it dictates what's really the setup, the style, the way that you actually set up these companies in the UAE. So now this law has changed in the last, let's say, 2 decades. The last change was in 2021. Now, this one is a quantum leap. It's a huge milestone when it came to the legislative part of it and modernizing it. So let me explain. I think it's important to understand what did we change, what did we allow, and the most important aspect is, the number one, is the reallocating between mainland and free zone or from free zone to mainland. In the past, you have to either dilute the company or you have to establish a new company. So what happens when you do that? You lose a lot of the company history, the financial aspects. So when you go, you need to open a new bank account. So you lose all the kind of transactions that happened in the old company. Now with this reallocation aspect allows you as well to move even easier and much better.
What is that going to mean for the cost of doing business?
Oh, it's going to make it much easier. 1, 2 is going to as well allow a lot of investors to come in, because there's a second part which came in very interesting and very nicely into the law. So the aspect of allowing different types of shares, from distribution shares, from profit distribution shares, from classification of many types. So there are about 5 types of shares that's coming into the company, the new structure of LLCs. So the LLC is about 80 to 90% when we look at the National Economic Registrar in the UAE. They have the majority of what people today establish companies in the UAE, but they have one classification of shares. Now, when an investor wants to come in and he wants a certain class, the previous law didn't allow that. The new law today allows you to establish 5 different types of shares in a company, and will allow you as well to create, the 6th one is to allow you to design whatever shares you want to design as well, if the legislation within the company allows it as well and approved by the General Assembly of the company.
Yeah, and those rights now available, as you say, to LLCs and private joint stock companies, not just the public companies. We've also got laws similar about drag-along rights, tag-along rights to make it easier to sell companies. What does all of this mean for the ability of companies based here to raise money? What's the bigger picture that you're trying to create for them?
Well, this is the quantum leap. This is the actual opening up. When you do that, there's a huge aspect of investors today can come in, buy companies, merge. There will be a lot of investments coming in. We're looking to increase the FDI coming into the country. We are, above $40 billion of FDI inflow to the UAE in the last couple of years. And I think it's important to look at it as well from that perspective, to say that today with such law as well, investors will not look just in companies where you in free zones, but as well in mainland and acquiring them as well. Now, with this law, you can relocate. You can have classes of shares. You can have the ability to tag along and drag along, which allows investors as well to come in. The same aspect when it happens to public stock exchange companies. These kind of setup today, the law is so agile and so adaptive. It allows as well the freedom of moving companies and doing that. Now, what we expect to happen in the UAE, today, 5 years ago, we were about 700,000 companies registered in the Economic Registrar. We rose up to 1.4 million, given the 100% ownership law in the company's law in 2021, where we changed that. We gave the 100% ownership there. The golden visa as well played a huge aspect. But today, with this, we expect then another 10 to 15% increase in companies' registration in the UAE. And we expect to reach about 2 million companies within the next end of this decade.
What kind of companies are going to benefit the most from this?
I think the most important aspect is the LLC. When we looked at the National Economic Registrar, the LLC types is the majority when it comes to that. And I think it's important for us to look at it in ways to say, how can we adapt the LLC formation? How can we create more resilience to it? Rather than you close one and open one, there's a lot of things that you can do with it. And I think it becomes more agility and more stronger as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about UAE companies there. One of the things this law does is it reaffirms something that was already existing, but it kind of doubles down on the UAE nationality of companies. I know there's been some discussion about that. What does and doesn't that mean?
I think since the issuance of the law, I think it's the important that everybody today, and why I wanted to come on, and I think it's important to explain the law, is to really disseminate the information. And how the law today will help companies to really grow even bigger when it comes to it. There's a lot of aspects to the law. There are going to be another 13 legislations coming out of the law. So there's some going to be ministerial decrees, some will be cabinet decrees, just to explain even further how to apply the law on the companies. I think that's something which is an important aspect. Now we're expecting these legislations to come out in the next 3 to 6 months max. And these are going to be ready to implement before the end of the year. So the new type of law will be ready before that.
Okay, just 30 seconds left with you. Those new pieces of law that are set to come out, what exactly will they cover? What areas in particular will they clarify?
The most important aspect is the classifications of shares, for instance. There will be an aspect to explain even further how do you sell these shares, how do you create these shares, specifically for those new companies or for the existing ones. So if an existing LLC, for instance, how do you then, from an existing LLC, you want to create new types of shares? What's the procedure that you need to do? What is the confirmation that you need to get? Who do you need to do it with? Who do you need to speak to? These are going to be the more detailed ones when it comes to the LLC companies, for example. That's one aspect. The movement from free zone to mainland, and mainland to free zone, this legislation as well will explain the details. How do you go about it and what you need to do in order to make this very seamless.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, talking us through those changes to the Commercial Companies Law. The UAE Minister of Economy and Tourism, His Excellency Abdulla bin Touq Al Marri, we appreciate your time.